Hello and welcome to Friday Night Live. I'm your host, Dan Kelleher. Today we'll be talking to a producer that started off with a radio show about local reggae artists, then made the transition to television. But first we have a husband and wife team producing and crewing their own ghost hunting show. Please welcome Suzanne and Jim Sorrell. Suzanne, Jim, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us, Dan.
So how long have you guys been producing your show? What's it called?
Well, the studio show is called the Evermore Paranormal Network, and we've been producing the show for a year now.
Really? How many episodes have you done so far?
Well, of the studio show, we've produced about 38 episodes. We filmed them. They're still in post-production, a lot of them. And then the second show that has not aired yet, we've produced about 12 episodes.
Yeah, what's that's all about? Why a second show?
The second show, well, the first show, the Evermore Paranormal Network, is filmed here in the studio, and we have guests come on, and it's pretty serious, and people come on and talk about ghost stories. We have people that are in the field to come on and talk about their books or psychics and so on. The second show, we decided that we wanted to go out in the field, and it's called Evermore Paranormal Road Trip. It was approved a while ago, and we started filming, and that one is all about being in the field at not necessarily haunted locations, but paranormal-related kind of locations, antique malls, mansions, historical places, stores, whatever. The thing is, most of these places we find out are also haunted.
Oh, very cool. Have you always produced at FPA, or were you somewhere else before this?
Well, we were at another studio. It was called Stairway East Rehearsal Studio. It was run by a family, and we produced 10 episodes of a show called the Evermore Paranormal Show. This was a live show that live streamed to YouTube. It was an hour-long show. The only reason we left is because one of the owners, it was four people in the family. One of the owners got sick, and we started looking for somewhere else to film our show. Now, we still go to Stairway East for commercial projects. I do music CDs as well as we go to record music as well with them. But we don't do a show with them now.
So how much planning and preparation typically go into a single episode of either the Evermore Paranormal Network or of the road trip?
Wow. I was thinking about that. It is hard to quantify. It is time consuming. I mean, if I wrote down every call, every text, every email, every little thing you do as a producer, because there's a lot of back and forth communication. And so I can't really say, but if I had to, I really can't give you a number, but basically I film a show once a month. Here in the studio. We try to do 2 episodes. Basically, as soon as I get done with that show, I'm preparing for the next one. Getting guests, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on to get the show lined up. So I can't really give you an amount of time. I really don't want to sit down and figure it out. It does take a lot of time.
So what would you say that the most challenging part of all that is? I know you mentioned getting in contact with people. Would you say that's the most challenging part, or is that there's something else?
Well, let's see. One is when we have the studio show in Studio A, when we're filming, we get a 3-hour time block. We try to get 2 episodes filmed. Being that we're new, even though we've filmed 50 episodes at this point, we're still new, we're still learning. And it's very hard to get 2 episodes done. The last time we were here, we actually squoze in 3 episodes, but we had 5 minutes to spare. Basically, our 3-hour time, half of it is spent getting ready to film, and also putting stuff away at the end. So out of a 3-hour time block, 1.5 hours is spent getting before and after, and the other 1.5 hours is actually filming the shows. The other thing, so it's hard to get that done in the 3-hour time. I would like really another hour, but I know Studio B you can get more time, but we like it here in Studio A. The other thing is, yes, getting the crew and the guests here on time and handling, because it's just the 2 of us doing everything, we have to be very organized. And so crew show up late, or they don't show up at all, traffic problems around here, those kind of things. So, other than that, we've got to the point where we plan for those things.
So, Jim, I kind of want to bring you in.
Okay.
I understand you primarily do the technical aspects of the show, and you guys did staff productions before moving on to your own thing. What was that transition like?
Well, it went fine. I was fortunate enough to be able to shadow the control room crew for all the tapings, so that was a big help. And also, we did add an extra staff production service, and that gave us a little more time to be prepared and learn the process better than what we'd already done. And then getting the elements, that was great. That was a big help, getting the elements. So we can go into editing, put the thing together, and we're able to get our first show completed and submitted on time. So both of those things really helped us. That was good.
All right. So do either of you, I know you go out in the field pretty often, do you have a favorite favorite place to go?
Well, do you have a favorite place?
Not really.
Basically, the next place I'm going to is my favorite place because everyone is different. You never know what you're going to run into. Hopefully, it's not too negative a place. I don't like to deal with the negative side of the paranormal, like the demons and devil kind of thing. I literally don't do that. So I have no preference every place I go to.
And what's the most interesting place that you've filmed at so far?
Wow, what's the most interesting place? You?
It's hard to say.
Every place. I mean, seriously. Okay. Filming. Let's see. Well, the first episode that we filmed for the road trip, we filmed at. It's going to be the premiere of the road trip show, and we filmed at a metaphysical store. It's called the Crystal Wand in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Now, we went in there. There are two ladies, the owner and a psychic that does readings all the time there, and she's been my psychic for like years. Well, we went in there just to tell us about the store, tell us what background and so on. Well, we had some paranormal activity occur while filming, and that was just a crazy incident.
So, who do you target in your show? Like, what's your target audience? Do you go for fellow believers, other ghost hunters, or do you go more for skeptics?
Okay, who I go for is anybody that's interested in the field. I really want people to just turn on the show, be open-minded, and you take from it what you want to take from it. Ghost hunters, believe it or not, I don't really target ghost hunters. Basically, ghost hunters can be believers or skeptics, or a little both. So they change. I'm a believer. He's a skeptic. So, like I've said this a lot of times, that you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. I can tell you and teach you and talk about the paranormal, but until you're ready to believe, you're not going to believe. So, but I do. When I turn in my episodes, I always mark that it's for adults, okay? I really, personally, do not think that kids should be dealing in this. I do have a teenager on my team. He's been on my team. He's 17, but he's been on my team since the beginning. He's more mature than, he's like 40 or 50 in mental age. He has psychic abilities. He's very passionate about the field. He's an exception to the rule, but I really don't recommend that children do this. There are dangers involved. Children are vulnerable, and I wouldn't bring my own child into this.
All right. So, Jim, going back into the technical side, when you guys go to produce a show or go to tape a show, how many crew members do you normally need on a production date, and what type of crew do you need?
Well, as you probably know, in a perfect world, 6 or 7 would be ideal, but we don't have that many. We only have ourselves, Suzanne and I, and we've got it to where it works for us. So.
All right, and also, Jim, do you have? So it's just you two. Nobody else says, "Come on," just yet.
Right. We started out. We did have a set crew, And we had 3 members of our team that we got trained for cameras, thinking they would be able to help us out. However, reliability became an issue, and it didn't work out for us. So we just settled for ourselves doing it.
So what types of mistakes did you make when you first started out your show, and have you made steps to correct them?
I had a hard time coming up with an answer because I really could not think of anything, any major mistakes that we made, thank goodness. And I think, I got to give credit to our training and staff productions here for that. There were minor issues where we may have overlooked something, or we didn't experience it in our training or the staff productions, but we overcame those by using the equipment room staff for help, and of course the production department as well. So that was the only things I could come up with. I really couldn't think of anything really made a problem for us. Just minor things.
So Suzanne, similar question. What have you learned just by being a producer? Like, what things did you do in the beginning that maybe weren't the best practices? And
Oh, well, every show we learn something new, and I actually self-critique. I'm the producer, he's the director, and I learned that I actually I get to critique him and tell him, hey, you did this. I call him in, say, okay, this, you got to change this. I didn't like this, because he's doing all the stuff behind the scenes. He's filming, post-production, all that. Lower thirds, for instance, first couple episodes he forgot to put lower thirds. And I'm like, oh, you forgot lower thirds. One of the last shows that we put in, he messed up the lower thirds on this one girl, every one. So it was misspelled once this way, misspelled wrong. Okay, paranormal show should be paranormal, not paranormal, Jim. I mean, we're not going to get any credibility if she is a paranormal investigator. So, I made him fix it. So just things like that he'll never forget. He actually made a worksheet now for the credits, and I have a checklist when I review every episode. Oh, so many times. Even when he makes one little correction, I'll watch the whole episode again, because I'm always worried about, well, maybe something got thrown off. So as for, those are the kind of things. But did you want to know what advice or anything I have for?
Yeah, what advice do you have just for producers starting out their first show?
Their first show? Mm-hmm. Well, I was thinking about that. And like I said, I've learned a lot over producing 50 episodes, and also being on the other side, being crew, being a guest as well. But I would say the key thing to being a producer is to be very organized and plan. And I learned this in Lisa's class, the Producers Workshop class too. I think she stressed this, that the more you plan, the more you prepare, the smoother the show will go, and everything will just be great. Now, so you always kind of plan for, have a plan B and all that. Now, also, secondly, let's see, I also think, and I've realized this is something I really want to stress, I'm a producer now, but I've also been crew, I've also been guest, and I really do think it's important to show appreciation for the people that come in here. They volunteer their time, and I, for one, have felt like I was not appreciated when I was on the other side of this desk. So as a producer, I make sure that these people are, you greet them, you thank them, and that has not been done for me on some of the things that I volunteered on. And thirdly, if you're going to do a show, make sure that you are passionate about the topic that you are producing a show on. Because at the end of the day, you're putting a lot of time in. You're spending your weekends, evenings, and so on. And so make sure that you are passionate about it, because at the end of the day, you're doing this all for free, really. So those would be my tips.
And to the volunteers watching right now, if they want to get involved with your show, how can they best get in contact with you?
Well, they can send an email to msvaghtr@aol.com. So that's Ms. Virginia Ghost Hunter, basically. And you could also go to our YouTube channel, or our Facebook channel for either of the shows. We have channels and Facebook pages for both of those.
All right. Well, Suzanne, Jim, thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having us.
I'd like to thank the Sorrells for sharing their story with us today. It's certainly given me a lot to think about. Don't go away, because coming up next, we're going to be talking with Janice White about her TV show, World Reggae Party, Local Irie.